Hi guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be yet another childhood ruining conspiracy theories video for you guys. I love filming these videos because I think they are so fun and funny. Usually, some of them are kind of dark theories, but it's fun to look back on your favorite childhood movies and TV shows and basically just ruin those shows for us in the movies, but in a fun way. Before we get into the video, I would like to thank Keen for sponsoring today's video. Keen is a website that connects you to talented tarot card readers, astrologers, and psychics, and I love them. Keen, I love a year reading, just like a 2023, whatever year it is, seeing what is in store for you that year. Lots of fun happenings. I feel like I was talking about all the new stuff I've been doing, just getting some advice, seeing what's up, seeing what I'll be doing in 2023. It's really cool because if you want to get a reading on Keen like I did, it's super easy to start. You can create an account at any time and choose from the hundreds of readers who are online right now, which is my favorite because you can get a reading at 3 o'clock in the morning if you're just like, oh my god, stressing about something. Get a quick reading. These readers each have unique specialties that are designed to provide a deeper understanding of your situation. And if you want to learn more what's in store for you in 2023, Keen has a reader ready to provide answers for you. You can choose whichever reader suits your needs best, but also what I like is that you can connect with them via phone call or text chat. I hate talking on the phone, so I love just connecting with them on text chat. They could just predict my future right over a message. As a new customer with Keen, you could try your first 10 minutes for only $1.99, which is up to $99 in savings. If you guys would like to check Keen out, go to trykeen.com/Michelle and let me know what your psychic reading says. I want to hear all of the tea. I want to hear what's in store for you for 2023. Or you can click the link in my description box below to save big on your first reading. Thank you again to Keen for sponsoring this video. You guys know I've been working with them for a long time. I just love getting a little clarity at the beginning of the year or the end of the previous year just to see what's in store. I think it's really fun, so go check them out. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so the first two childhood ruining conspiracy theories come from the movie Shrek. Honestly, I haven't seen Shrek in such a fucking long time. I just feel like I really want to rewatch Shrek. I miss it, you know? Nonetheless, let's talk about a theory that has to do with dragon. The theory basically goes that dragon has these feminine and human-like features like eyelashes and makeup because she is like Fiona and was a princess that had a curse. Theory kind of makes sense. I'm not sure if I 1000% believe it, but I do think that it's an interesting concept because obviously we see dragon fall in love with donkey. So the theory continues that dragon believes that donkey is a prince who has a donkey curse on him. I'm not sure how much I believe it, but I do think that it is pretty fun to conspirize about. It would make sense, but then I guess in this theory, is donkey a prince that has a curse on him as well? That's the part that doesn't really make sense. But nonetheless, I saw this theory circulating and I thought it was pretty interesting. And I don't know. Also, the dragon's name is Elizabeth, which is odd. I feel like it's her name Elizabeth. It's just such a human-like name. And I just think it's kind of interesting. The way that she acts too is pretty human-like. The only thing is she doesn't talk, obviously, so I don't know how much I believe this theory, but I thought it was interesting nonetheless. A lot of you guys wanted me to talk about it, but I do have my suspicions. So the next Shrek theory is very dark, and it goes into the idea that Fiona is actually a cannibal. So the theory goes that since Fiona has spent over 20 years locked away in the tower, that she had to resort to cannibalism to get by. It's suggested that she actually started eating the flesh of the knights who came to rescue her, and that's how she was able to survive during captivity. Pretty gross, but also I guess kind of makes sense because whatever happened to those knights. So the idea kind of starts with the fact that Fiona obviously turns into an ogre at night, and obviously ogres are shown to have kind of different appetites than humans. But for me, the part that I think is really interesting about this theory is there are quite a few hidden clues in the actual movies. So when Shrek and Donkey first arrive at the tower, they notice that there's some partial remains of a knight, implying that he was potentially eaten. Also, I think the most popular point to this theory and the one that makes the most sense, in the tower there's a giant cookbook that can be seen in the castle. It's open to a page that says nightly treats, spelled like a knight, and it's next to a giant cauldron that's definitely big enough to fit a person. The theory goes that the dragon would cook the knights and feed them to Fiona. A lot of people think that maybe the cookbook was for dragon, but at the end of the day, she's a dragon. I feel like if she wanted to eat humans, she wouldn't have to cook them, but it makes more sense for Fiona to do so. I don't freaking know. All I'll say is it's dark as hell. I'm not sure if I believe it, but I would say it's kind of plausible just based on like the nightly treats thing. But I don't know if that was just some sort of joke that they threw in there. I just feel like, I don't know. Stranger things have happened, I will say, because obviously like freaking SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs like being a cannibal is like probably actual truth rather than a conspiracy theory at this point. The Krabby Patty secret formula is crab meat. I think that that's not actually a theory and more facts. And like I think that was the point. But what do you guys think? I would love to know your opinions on these two Shrek theories. I think the second one is unfortunately more plausible than the first one, which is just fun games. Also a very interesting concept overall to think about who potentially could also have a similar, you know, curse on them that Fiona had in the Shrek universe. Obviously there's a shit ton of characters in Shrek, and it's interesting to think that perhaps a lot of them are not who they seem. All right, speaking of SpongeBob, which we did a bit earlier, the next theory is about none other than Mrs. Puff. This is a pretty dark theory as well, but again, it doesn't seem so much a conspiracy theory as it does factual. So the theory basically goes that Mrs. Puff has had a very dark secret past. Honestly, like I said, it's barely a theory at this point, and it seems way more likely than not. In the episode No Free Rides, we get some big clues to show that Mrs. Puff is not who she appears to be. So in this episode, once again, Mrs. Puff gets so fed up with SpongeBob failing his boating test, she decides to just pass him anyway. Before she does it, a whole scene kind of ensues in her head of what would happen if she gave SpongeBob a boating license without him actually being ready for it. And then she says, quote, "What have I done? Everyone will know I let him slide through school. I'll have to move to a new city, start a new boating school with a new name. No, not again." What do you mean by no, not again? So she's already done that. Mrs. Puff is clearly confirming that something happened at her past boating school outside of the Bikini Bottom that had to make her change her name and move. We kind of go back to this idea in the episode Lighthouse Louie. SpongeBob is cleaning Mrs. Puff's lighthouse. As he's sorting through her things, he comes across a file labeled Mrs. Puff, which is our first suspicious moment because it makes sense for Mrs. Puff to have files on her students in her class, but why would she have a file labeled her own name? Lots of conspiracy theorists believe that this file contains basically all of her fake documents as Mrs. Puff. In another frame of this episode, we see SpongeBob next to a newspaper that says "Deranged boat teacher makes getaway" from the New Kelp Post, with a very clear picture of Mrs. Puff. So this has sparked the conspiracy theory that she used to live in this New Kelp city and did something terrible that made her have to flee. It also can potentially contribute her past experiences as a reason to all of her nervous breakdowns that she has throughout the series. Most of them are to do with SpongeBob, so it's maybe interesting to think that perhaps this encounter, since it's obviously they're talking about boating school, boat teacher, like in the newspaper article, that something happened with a past student. So I think it's a really interesting concept. But in the episode Doing Time, she was in jail because SpongeBob failed the driver's test again. And she says, quote, "Okay, you can do this, Puff. You can get through this without losing your sanity. Oh, that's a road we don't want to go down again." Again? Like, what do you mean by that? What is this fucking dark past that Mrs. Puff is hiding? Like, what could this lady do? She's a fucking pufferfish, boating teacher. What did she do? Clearly something pretty bad that made her have to leave her own city and change her name and take on a whole new identity. I don't know. But also, like, did this thing happen at boating school? Because then why is she still trying to be a boating teacher? I feel like, goodbye. You know? I think it's a really interesting theory, and it seems like it's more factual, but I don't know if we'll ever know the full reason or the full extent of whatever she did. But I would love to hear your theories below of what you think Mrs. Puff could have done in her past life of this dark vibe that she had to run away from. I would love to know your theories. So the next theory that we're going to be talking about has to do with Peter Pan. I love Peter Pan. Peter Pan was my first ever musical that I was in high school, and it was really fun. But nonetheless, there's a theory that there's an unexpected villain in Peter Pan, none other than Tinkerbell. According to a Reddit user about this theory, there's a very common theme in folklore and ancient fairy stories that talk about how fairies are known to steal children. The reasoning behind this is various, but a lot of times they would steal children and leave their own fairy children in place. Let's talk about like why they did this. Some stories just like never really gave an explanation for the stealing, and they just made it seem like they did it to be malicious. Some people thought that they did it to terrible parents, like neglectful parents. They would steal their children and then raise them themselves. Some people just believed that they simply just wanted human children over fairy children. And then other people believe a bit of a darker theory. Folklore used to say that these fairies would steal these children and replace them with their fairy children to keep their fairy children safe. They apparently had to offer a sacrifice to hell, like a living sacrifice, every 7 years. They would steal children from the human world, return to the fairy world, and sacrifice human babies to hell. Either way, for some reason, there's lots of old-timey fairy folklore about them stealing children. And I don't get it, but nonetheless, we have a common theme with Peter Pan, obviously. Theory continues that Peter Pan is potentially a human that Tinker Bell stole as an infant and decided to raise him herself. I think that this theory is actually pretty interesting because there's a lot of theories about Tinker Bell and Peter Pan's dynamic, and you know, if they are in love or if they like are sibling-y vibes. Like, there's just not really set in stone what their relationship is. But the reason that Tinker Bell stealing Peter Pan as a child and then raising him in the fairy world makes a lot of sense is because that is why Peter Pan has human-like features but can fly like a fairy, because she taught him how. The theory continues that Tinker Bell uses Peter Pan as her accomplice to steal children and bring them to the fairy world. This could explain why Tinker Bell had some issues with Wendy, because it seemed like she was jealous of Wendy. It seemed like Peter and Wendy had a crush on each other or whatever, but I think that maybe it wasn't jealousy, but it was more of like an overprotectiveness of a parent, or she knows that Wendy has to be sacrificed to hell, so she doesn't want Peter to get too attached, which is dark as fuck, but it's a pretty interesting theory nonetheless. I really think that this theory kind of adds up. I feel like Tinker Bell has always annoyed me. I never liked Tinker Bell. I feel like she's up to no good, honestly. But let me know what you guys think about this theory. All right, the last two theories have to do with none other than Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter, but I will admit I definitely started liking Harry Potter later in life. I mean, not really. I was like 15 or 16 years old. But my sister loved it. Like, that was like the first, she was reading Harry Potter when she was in like first grade. Anytime my sister liked something, I wanted to revolt because I have a younger sibling energy, I guess. And I don't know, that's just a thing that we do. First one is a theory that I've seen going around for years, and it's essentially the idea that Harry Potter never actually left the cupboard under the stairs. The theory goes that due to Harry's abusive childhood, that either due to being malnourished or just due to overall boredom from being locked away in the cupboard under the stairs, that Harry resorted to creating this false reality in his head or just in his imagination of Hogwarts, and that he was a wizard and he made up all of these people and he made up all these battles that he had to save the day, but really it's just all in his head, which is depressing. I hate theories that are like that. But I do think that they're interesting nonetheless. That better not be true. I mean, if it is, like, I guess we'll just never know. That's how I feel about life as a simulation theory. I'm like, ugh, I don't want it to be true, but like, whatever, if we don't know, so we might as well just like live life. That's how I feel about this Harry Potter theory. We'll never know. But I do think it's an interesting concept because, like, shit, I feel like that kid would not be allowed to go to Hogwarts. Like, I would just feel like their Dursleys would fucking find a way to make sure that he doesn't get to go. But I think it's an interesting concept overall. I don't think it's true, and I'm choosing to not believe it. But the next Harry Potter theory, I could see some truth to it. Ginny Weasley actually gave Harry Potter a love potion. I love this theory because I cannot stand Ginny Weasley. I feel like she's very irritating to me. My least favorite couple is definitely Ginny and Harry. I just feel like they don't really make sense. They don't have a lot of chemistry. I just feel like dating your best friend's younger sister is like not it. It's like a bro code thing. I hate that I just said that. I sounded like such a like freaking millennial, but I just feel like it is, you know? It's no secret that the Weasley twins sold love potions at their shop, and it's believed that Ginny grabbed some of that because she had a crush on Harry and gave it to him during the Half-Blood Prince. I think that this is an interesting concept because obviously we have seen the love potion in action before when Ron accidentally eats those chocolates. But what I think is interesting about it is those people who had love potions put on them during the course of Harry Potter, they were never actually interested in the people. So what if Harry also had a crush on Ginny as well, but he was like, I'm never gonna do anything that's like I said, bro code, it's Ron's little sister. But because of the love potion, it kind of made him just act on his feelings in a more natural way rather than that like obsessive love potion-y vibe that Ron had when he ate the chocolates. I don't know. I think it's kind of an interesting theory. I just feel like Harry and Draco should have ended up together, but that's for another day. That is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of these childhood ruining conspiracy theories. And if you have any childhood ruining conspiracy theories, or if you just have any TV shows or movies that you want me to search up some theories on that are from our childhood, I would love for you to comment that below. That is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week. I'll see you guys later. Bye.